Hello and welcome to How to Invest. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how I lost money investing in a great company. That is HIMS and HERS. I currently have an $82,000 portfolio and I do own HIMS and HERS at the time of recording. We'll also go over the shareholder letter. We'll be doing that first. Then I'll be talking about how I lost money investing in HIMS and HERS by buying at the wrong price. And I'll talk about when to buy a stock, when to trim it, when to add to it, how to dollar cost average into positions, and all that kind of stuff in the second point. And then lastly, we'll be going over the modeling for HIMS and HERS. We'll talk about the bear case price target for 2030, the base case price target for 2030, and the bull case price target for 2030. So strap in and I hope you enjoy. We are not registered investment advisors. You are solely responsible for your own investments. We implore everyone to underwrite their own investments. If you don't have time to, we recommend not watching our channel. We may hold positions in securities we discuss. Our opinions are subject to change, and this video reflects our opinions only at the time of recording. This video is not financial advice and is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Starting with the shareholder letter, the revenue growth was a bit disappointing, but you have to keep in mind all of the drama we had in Q1, and oh my goodness, there was a lot. We're talking lawsuits, we're talking reversal of lawsuits, we're talking about new deals with big, pharmaceutical companies. All that kind of stuff happened, and despite all of the drama, increased G&A because they're hiring lawyers and all of this kind of stuff, they were still able to raise revenue 4% year over year. And if we look at how that's broken down, they actually shrank revenue in the United States by 8%, which is totally understandable when you're talking about, one of their fastest growing verticals, that is weight loss, basically getting whiplashed back and forth this first quarter. But despite that, the rest of the world revenue grew 969%. That is absolutely insane. That is a 10x in growth in international. This is they just have so much room to grow. And the US revenue is about to turn around. They guided for it to turn around. The guidance was absolutely excellent. Despite all that, unfortunately, the market's reaction was, oh, we're going to sell it 15% off, which just goes to show, you can have an excellent quarter and bad revenue or bad guidance and they'll sell you off, and that's better.com. You can have bad revenue but great guidance and they'll sell you off anyways. So, you never know what the market's reaction to a quarter is going to be. And that's why we invest based on fundamentals, not short-term timing of Mr. Market. Though we do want to take advantage of Mr. Market's, volatility a bit, and I'll talk about how we do that here at How to Invest in a bit in the second point. But just finishing with the shareholder letter, they, like I was saying, guidance was actually really good. They raised full year guidance for 2026 to 2.8 to 3 billion. And this little kind of note here is actually telling us that this guidance doesn't include the acquisition of Eucalyptus. Let me find where exactly that is. Here we go. I just saw it. Our second quarter and full year 2026 outlook excludes any potential contributions from the recently announced proposed acquisition of Eucalyptus, which is expected to close during the middle of calendar year 2026, subject to customary closing conditions, including regulatory approvals. So this is basically their core growth, excluding M&A, guidance for the full year 2026. So they are very bullish on the rest of the year, despite the first quarter kind of volatility with all the GLP-1s, the Novo lawsuit, all that kind of stuff. So I am really bullish on this. You can see these numbers in the modeling that we'll go over at the end. But I'll explain the guidance for 2026 and their guidance through 2030 and how that plays into the modeling and what that looks like for returns later on. But first, I want to use HIMS and HERS as a great example and a learning lesson for it's so important to understand the fundamental value of a company so that you know when is a good time to buy into the position and when's a good time to maybe trim. Now, when I talk about trimming, I'm not talking about selling the whole position. I'm talking about trimming a little bit around the edges. So let's say you model a company, it's currently undervalued, the market's not appreciating it, its growth, all that kind of stuff. You model it out, maybe it's a 9x in 5 years, something like that. And then the company does something that, HIMS itself did. In a month, it went from about $25 to $73, which is about a 3x. So in that scenario, let's say back here in January of 2025, we modeled out HIMS and HERS through 2030, and we said HIMS and HERS poses a 9x over the next 5 years. And then all of a sudden, the stock price triples. Well, guess what? That cuts your future returns in into 3. So you're getting only 1/3 of the future return because the price 3x. So now instead of being a 3x in 5 years in 2030, now you're only getting a 3x. Instead of a 9x, you're getting a 3x. Exactly. Okay, so that's still a really good return. But it is smart to keep like a core position, but maybe you can trim around that a little bit. Hopefully you have multiple positions. I don't recommend being all in one stock, but maybe, HIMS triples, and we're gonna trim a little bit of that stock, 10, 20% maybe, and we're gonna move that capital out of HIMS and HERS and into maybe another stock that poses maybe a 6 or a 10x return itself that still hasn't gotten recognized by the market as a great, potential returner. So that's one thing I want to talk about, trimming around stock price movements when the market gets super exuberant. Mr. Market, he hasn't, he took his meds that day, or maybe he's just really excited and he's outside of your house telling you that he'll buy your house for 2x or 3x the value that it's actually worth today. Sometimes it's smart to take advantage of that. Take a little bit of profit when the market gets exuberant. Now, you still want to own a core position, right? Because like Warren Buffett says, my favorite holding period is forever. So we are wanting to buy companies that we want to hold for the next 3 decades. And so even if the next 5 years of returns is kind of priced in the stock today, if we think that the company is going to pose an excellent returns over the next decade or two, then yeah, we'd still want to hold our core position, right? But if the money's going to be dead for maybe the next 5 years, who knows what the market's going to do? Maybe, for example, like Palantir, right? Maybe you modeled out Palantir, it's a 10x, it goes from $7 to $70. Well, you got your 10x immediately, but we don't want to cut the whole position because guess what Palantir went on to do from $70? It almost over tripled from there, going to 200, so almost a triple from $70. So you already got the 10x from 7, and then it's still 3x from there. So, you never know what the market's going to do in the short term. It can price in so much future growth ahead of time if it gets really, really excited. And Palantir, I think, is still going to be an excellent company to hold for the next couple of years. I've did the modeling on it recently, and it still poses like a 2x, I think, in my base case through 2030. It's not as good as other positions, but if you have your core position and now you have tons of capital gains, selling it means you have to pay a lot of taxes. So maybe I'll take the 2x over the next 5 years instead of paying all those capital gains and getting a 5x or something. So yeah, there's a lot more that goes into the math there, but hopefully you get an idea about position sizing. Now, I want to talk about dollar cost averaging a little bit as well. This is super, super important. I moved brokerages, so I moved from M1 to IBKR. When I did that, it had to liquidate all my positions because I was basically liquidating a Roth IRA and moving it to a traditional brokerage because I'm pretty sure I was going to retire before my retirement age, and I didn't want it all locked inside a retirement account. So kind of viewed it as a prison for my money, but that's my own personal decision. I think these retirement accounts are great retirement options, tax deferred. Like these are good. You should definitely take advantage of them. It just wasn't for me and how I was planning my financial future. So don't take that as advice there. That was just my own independent decision. But when I did that and transferred out of M1, I basically had cash. And when I reallocated positions, I allocated based off if my cost basis was my original cost basis, whereas I know starting from cash again, I should have reallocated positions based off of the current future returns from the current stock prices. So I ended up buying quite a lot of HIMS and HERS at $55, which was a bad entry point because it was being overpriced at the market by the market at that point. So just goes to show you need to, it's not a bad idea. You cannot time the market. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about timing the tops and bottoms. I'm talking about just purely understanding the actual intrinsic value of the business and understanding when the market is saying that it's worth more than the intrinsic value. It's probably not the best time to add, and maybe you can trim a little bit. And when it's priced way below the intrinsic value of the company, that's a good time to, that's a good entry point. And maybe it still goes down even further than that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to talk about trying to time the bottom or something. So here, like when it was trading around, between $14 and $17, that was a really good entry point. Like that's obviously below the intrinsic value of HIMS and HERS Health. Like that's a really good time to add to the position. If you have more income than expenses and you're adding to your portfolio every single month, maybe I'm deciding to add that cash that I'm putting into my portfolio to my HIMS position these couple of months where it's trading under intrinsic value, and then continue to dollar cost average into that position. And then now that it, when it recovered to 30, maybe I'm not adding to HIMS and HERS anymore, I'm adding to another position. So this is what I'm talking about when like dollar cost averaging, understanding the intrinsic value versus what the voting machine, that is the short-term stock market, is saying. You want to try to take advantage of that, but you're not trying to time the market. So you're not trying to say, oh, there's about to be a crash, I could sell out of it. You'd never know. It could pull a Palantir. HIMS could have pulled a Palantir from $72. It could have gone on to triple from there. So I'm not talking about trying to time the top, selling your whole position. No, we want to build core positions, and we can trim and add around the market fluctuations a little bit, and this is up to your own decision. Maybe you don't want to do that, and that's totally fine, because you don't want to have to deal with taxes and all of that kind of stuff. You just want to buy a really good position. Well, then maybe you want to keep in mind the market fluctuations for when you're dollar cost averaging, what positions to add to. It's better to add to a position that's currently trading at below intrinsic value versus continuing to add to a position that's trading well above intrinsic value. So it's really important to understand the intrinsic value and the market dislocation from that intrinsic value. For trimming, if you want to do that, you definitely don't have to, but definitely understanding that for dollar cost averaging into positions. You don't want to be dollar cost averaging to your most overvalued position. You want to be dollar cost averaging into your smaller, underbuilt positions that are currently trading under the intrinsic value of the company. So that was the big kind of a learning lesson I wanted to use HIMS and HERS for in today's video. So I hope that was helpful for you and you learned something there. And a lot of this is based off of basically Peter Lynch's book. He was talking about, if you're investing in a company and you have a 5-year expected return and you get the full 5-year expected return in 1 year, there's a good reason to trim that position. If you have a reasonable expectation that it's going to trade sideways, you shouldn't have invested in it in the first place if you don't think you want to hold that company for 20 years, but it could be a very reasonable time to take some profits, trim the position down back to a core position, and continue to ride it out from there. And you don't want to sell the whole thing either, because you never know if it's going to pull a Palantir or something like that. So that was a big mistake my brother made. He bought Palantir at 7, sold it at 14. Huge mistake. He lost so much potential upside. What he should have done is, when it doubled, you take some profits, you trim the position a little bit, but you're holding that stock in that position in Palantir for the next couple of decades. So definitely a learning lesson for me. It's great to learn from other people's mistakes as well. So that's what I really want to talk about today. Lastly, let's go over some modeling. So we'll start with the bear case. So their 2030 guidance is $6.5 billion in revenue and a 20% EBITDA margin. And then for this year, they guided 2.8 to 3, excluding Eucalyptus. So in our bear case, they barely just hit the bottom end of that revenue guidance, 2.8. So this would be really bad. This means the Eucalyptus acquisition kind of falls through, adds nothing to the market, adds nothing to the revenue this year. And they barely reach the bottom end of their guidance. And then they grow 20% on average. And this is actually them missing their 2030 year guidance as well. So they guided for 6.5 billion. So this is only them getting to 5.8 billion in revenue. So this is a very bear case scenario. They underperform on pretty much every guidance they give. And then their 20% adjusted EBITDA guidance just gets them to a 12% net margin, and then a PE ratio of 30. And that's pretty reasonable for a company with 70% gross margins, in that range, growing at 20% a year. So that's our bear case. In our base case, they hit their upper end of this 3 billion guidance. And this actually doesn't even really include the Eucalyptus M&A. That could add, 100 million, maybe 200 million in additional revenue. So this might be a little bit conservative here. There could definitely be some more room for upside and revenue growth this year in our base case. But then they get to 7 billion, so they slightly beat their 2030 guidance, because their 2030 guidance of 6.5 billion does not include Eucalyptus. And Eucalyptus has about 500 million in annual reoccurring revenue right now. So this is the 2030 guidance of 6.5 billion plus 500 million in additional revenue from the Eucalyptus acquisition to get to 7 billion in revenue. And then they get their 20% EBITDA, so maybe their net margin's 15%, and we're gonna say the market's giving them about a 38 PE at that point, which is, again, very reasonable if they're growing 22% in 2030. Obviously, again, we're still going to have market voting when we get to 2030. The market might be super excited or might be super bearish about, HIMS and HERS at that moment. So we might, we can decide what we want to do with our position at that point based off of what the market's giving us. But we'll go over the bull case last, and then we'll actually go over the price targets and what this actually means in terms of returns from the current stock price at time of recording, which is about $25. So bull case, this is basically the guidance of 3 billion plus a little bit of contribution of revenue from Eucalyptus acquisition would equal about 38% growth this year. Remember, they grew 4% this last quarter, but now they have Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk selling on their platform, and they're about to buy Eucalyptus, and international grew like 1,000% over the last 12 months. So there's a lot of growth factors that makes me feel very confident in their ability to actually achieve this. Now, you can listen to management, they say, oh, we're gonna grow like this, but you gotta know the actual ways they are going to achieve that growth. So there are real things that are going to allow HIMS and HERS to achieve the growth that they're guiding, which are the partnerships with Novo and Eli Lilly selling these GLP-1s. There are additional launches of testosterone's doing really well, menopause is doing well. So and then over the long term, we have the story of peptides and all that. In our bull case, they get to 8.2 billion, and this is due to a big surge in GLP-1s and peptide sales and lab testing and more preventative care, really allowing them to absolutely smash their 2030 guidance. So this is about 25% revenue growth from 2028 through 2030. And then getting to a 20% net margin. So they beat their EBITDA guide as well, and they get about 20% net margin. And then we put in a reasonable 46 PE ratio at this point. If they're growing 25%, that's pretty reasonable. So in these scenarios, if we go over to our base case, we'll start with our bear case actually first. So in our bear case, worst case scenario, it is a 3.6x, which almost puts them on 30% compounding, even in the worst case scenario. So that gives us a price target of $90, about $90 in 2030. Next, our base case, we have them here at a 6.9x, which gives us a base case price target of $170 and doing well above a 30% return. And then in our bull case, this puts them at a 13x, so that gives us a price target of $330 in 2030. So again, the point of modeling, don't just look at my modeling and go buy the stocks. This is to teach you how to model. I don't want you to go just take my modeling as gospel. No, the point of showing you these modeling is so that you can learn how to model yourself. And in fact, if you want to use this spreadsheet to model, you can download it in the description for free. It's really important to do this yourself. I'm hopefully teaching you guys how to invest, how to underwrite your own, how to understand the qualitatives of companies yourself, and then how to do the quantitatives yourself through modeling. And that is the point, and that's what I'm trying to teach you guys in each video. I'm not here to tell you go buy this, go buy that. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. We're here to teach you the principles and to educate you guys on how to invest, not tell you what to invest in. So please do not invest in anything based off one of these videos. Hopefully I'm teaching you how to go and learn the information to underwrite your own investments yourself. So I hope this video was helpful for that. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and make sure to subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. As a reminder, our investment philosophy is to never invest money we might need for the next several years or that we can't afford to go to zero. Before we buy individual stocks, we always ensure our income exceeds our expenses and that we hold an emergency fund of 3 to 12 months of living expenses. If we didn't have the time to research fundamentals, our strategy would simply be to hold broad index funds. Remember, this video is not financial advice. It is for educational and entertainment purposes only.